Welcome, Sarah. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. And can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. So I was a corporate trainer in sales and leadership before I ever went into entrepreneurship. I opened my dream business in 2005, and at that time, I was riding the life. I was loving my business. It was everything I ever dreamed it would be, but life changes. And somewhere in there, I went from having one child to having two, a partner that worked away, and major competitors moving into my space. And, life and business don't always run parallel, and very frustrating and heartbreaking. But I decided that, at that time, I was going to refocus, and I reached out to a business brokerage during that process to figure out what my exit looked like. I mean, it's, do I have anything to sell? Do I have anything of worth? I didn't know. I was an award-winning entrepreneur and thought I was doing everything right, and there were still so many things that I didn't know. So through the brokerage, I came to the conclusion that I wasn't going to have anything to sell because of the major competitors in my space. And so I took my losses, lessons learned, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to change what I did. I learned so much. And marrying my corporate training background in entrepreneurship, I thought, okay, what's next for me? And the brokerage offered me a role working with them, selling small to medium-sized businesses. So 250,000 to about 10 million was our marketplace. And I got to see the ins and outs and under the hoods of a whole lot of different types of businesses and working with entrepreneurs. And I hated it. I got to tell you, I really hated it. It was heartbreaking because nobody calls a business broker when things are good. Mm-hmm. They call a business broker when there's trouble or when there's, they already wanted out of their business. And I was leaving people's businesses saying, I don't want to rip your business apart. This is your baby. Everyone says, oh, Sarah, stop being emotional. It's just business. Well, this is the most emotional business, or not even business. It's the emotional purchase you could ever make. This is your livelihood. This is your baby. I always sort of likened my business to my third child. It's the one that didn't scream quite as much, but it was just as needy, if not more. Mm-hmm. So I also had become a certified business and executive coach through that process and through that time. And I loved the idea of, marketing the potential of the businesses. I didn't like ripping them apart. But inevitably, I would go in and I would sit down and I had to come up with a really quick framework on how to get to, the skeletons in the closet and where the potential was for the business and what they had. And it's kind of like selling a house. If there's a big hole in the roof, we have to disclose it. So I had to figure out really quickly how to build that out. And being that I didn't like being a broker so much as selling their dreams, I loved their potential. So I started doing a lot more growth strategies. So that's where the strategic planning and working with entrepreneurs, whether from a startup or from, an exit strategy or succession point of view came in, and I loved it. But COVID hit me too. And going through that process, everybody stopped thinking about growth and everyone said, okay, I'm just going to hold on and figure out what I want to do. So marrying my background in corporate training, I thought, okay, I need to share this with people. And, there's two things that I always sort of come back on, through this process that I learned. And it's number one is that we don't know what we don't know. That's all of us. And number two, we don't talk about it. We sort of feel like we're, all alone in our island. We don't want to talk about our failure. We don't want to talk about our success because somebody will judge us. It's so for me, I thought, okay, I turn this into an online training program and a coaching platform where I actually walk entrepreneurs through really doing an inventory of their entire business, sort of soup to nuts, right from your vision planning and your vision and what you want to accomplish in 10 years, right through to dissecting your financials and how you look at the team, your revenue streams, your workflow, everything.
Mhm.
And then at the end of that, they come out with a strategic plan that they can action themselves and they can follow. Because I think that that's the point is that, if I learned anything, planning was the one thing I didn't do well.
Mhm.
And, with all the other things of working in our businesses, we don't really work on them.
Mhm. That's true. Well, what's an achievement that you're very proud of, Sarah?
I think that the thing I'm most attached to when I think about, what I do and how, the thing that fills my bucket the most is the aha moments that the entrepreneurs have that I get to talk to. It's when we step back and we say, okay, you know what? The light bulb goes off and it just makes sense. And they look at me and they say, I wish I'd known that 6 months ago, or I wish I'd known that 6 years ago. I would have made different decisions just to know. So for me, when I think about what I'm most proud of, I mean, I love my journey. It's definitely been a roller coaster.
Mhm.
But when I see that light bulb go off for other people, that fills me up.
Mhm. What's a piece of advice you could offer to others who would like to follow in your path?
I think the biggest piece of advice I would have for others is really to do the planning. You
Mm.
know, the banks require you to have a 2-page business plan with, financials to support getting a loan but it doesn't tell you how to be successful. Going through the planning process, whether you stick to it or you don't, because that's part of entrepreneurship is not sticking to it. And learning as you go and pivoting as time goes on and different circumstances rise. But going through that process of really sitting down and having that CEO time with yourself. My clients always get mad at me then. I always say, well, did you spend time working on your business? We're so busy in it that we don't always look at the overall big picture. And I think that is one of the things, if someone had given me a recipe, 17 years ago and said, here's what you need to do, Sarah, I would have been so grateful, because I remember days, Stephanie, where I was sitting in my office and I was looking at my computer and thinking, I wish someone would just tell me what to do.
Well, what kept you feeling driven and motivated during those particularly hard parts of the entrepreneurship?
I think it's just pure grit. It's just sitting down and saying, this is where I am. I'm invested in this. I've put my blood, sweat, and tears into this, and I'm just going to keep going. But keeping going kept evolving. It kept changing shape. And, I've now been a solopreneur for 17 years. 5 of those in my own small business, and 12 of those now supporting other entrepreneurs. And it's not for the faint of heart. You just,
Mhm.
it's the belief that you're in the right place and you're just going to keep going.
Mhm.
And, I have 2 children and I want them to see that they can accomplish what they want.
Mhm. So what made you decide to pursue your business?
Uh, you know, Having gone through the process of my exit with
Mhm.
my first business,
Yeah.
I learned so many things. That's where I had my aha moment. When somebody asked me the questions and I couldn't answer. I thought I knew my business inside out. I was, like I said, I was winning awards. I was doing all the things that I thought were the right things, but I didn't see the whole picture. And the E-Myth, I read it. I still made every mistake. I knew that, what was going on. I thought I understood all the aspects of my business, but when people started asking me questions about it, all of a sudden I was, I don't know. I should go look at that. And I find that a lot of the entrepreneurs that I work with, they feel the same way.
Mm.
So once I start asking them the questions, it's like, well, I've got to go figure that out now. And it's sort of evolved. So really, for me, getting into the coaching and being a business strategist, it was really all about helping other entrepreneurs like me to have those moments and to sort of look at the bigger picture and figure out what they really need. I mean, it's clarity, focus, and a plan. As far as I'm concerned, that's really the basis of what we have to hold on to.
Yeah. How do you hope to see your business grow from here?
Well, as I mentioned, COVID hitting me and me launching this online training and coaching platform, I'd really like to not sort of at all. I'd like to see more people get that information and really create those hubs. We have all these different opportunities like the Chamber of Commerce and, local community chambers and networks. And I think that we tap into them, but we're not asking questions. I think there needs to be that, I want to create that safe place where people can really sit down and talk about their success and talk about their failures. And so I want to see my business continue to grow. And I'm working with some partners in the US. I've got some global clients. This is not, an Atlantic Canada or a Canada issue. This is entrepreneurship. This is everybody. We're all in the same boat. So why are we not talking about it? And where is this discussion about failure and how we have to hide and isolate? And I mean, I've been burnt out. I've gone through the process. Crawling out of that hole is not fun. And it would have made a lot more sense if I'd had someone to hold my hand through the process and keep me motivated too.
Is there a message you'd like to share with other women entrepreneurs?
Just keep going. Talk about it. Learn what you don't know. Find out where you really stand in your business, and then take that next step about talking to somebody else about it. I kind of feel like my mission is to get people talking. If we do nothing else, and you'll learn something from somebody else, if they're not from their success, then from their failure. No two circumstances or businesses are ever going to be the same. So you take out of it what you can, and then figure out your own lessons and share with other people. I started a women's network in my local community at one time, and I built it for the people that I worked with in my community and the other owners of stores, and none of them showed up. I was so devastated, and I was like, oh my gosh. But all of a sudden there were 30, 40, 50, now 200 plus other women entrepreneurs that jumped in and also wanted to have conversations and learn things from each other. Not the people I originally started out for, but really, I think if we just continue moving forward, that's where the happy mix is going to be.
And what made you join or sign up for the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce? Is it that sharing?
It is, and I mean, I think that the networking, and we're all so behind screens now. It's so hard to meet people, and the networking has really stopped, and that connection. I'm on a number of different boards, including our local Chamber of Commerce. But at the same time, I sort of feel like we've missed the larger collective. We've all sort of become so insulated in our own spaces that I really wanted to look at, how I can get my message out and how I can help other people and how I can meet other people that are doing the same.
Great. So how can women reach out to you? And what would you like them to reach out to you about?
Sure. Actually, you can reach me. So my business is called Evolve Business Coaching. And you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. And I offer a free business self-assessment and sort of an 33-minute masterclass on how to evaluate your own business. It's tough questions, the questions that we're not asking ourselves. This is the basis of what I, as a business strategist and coach, would be looking to find out before I sort of sat down with anybody to talk about strategy or to talk about growth or exit. and it'll give you some things to really think about. So I'd like to offer that up to anybody who's interested. You can find that directly on the website. Just enter your email, and you'll be put through to the on-demand masterclass.
Fantastic. Sounds like a wonderful piece of help for entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for joining us, Sara. Very happy to speak with you today and have you on the show.
Great. Thanks so much for having me.